Sound is a difficult thing to get right, even under the best of circumstances. But being isolated with limited access to equipment presents some special challenges, so I wanted to talk briefly about how to eke the best quality sound out of the equipment that you do have access to. I've recorded all the sound in this video using the techniques I'm about to talk about, and I think you'll agree that it could sound a lot worse. So before we go any further, let's take a quick inventory of the various microphones and sound recording devices that are available to us. The stereo mics that you built in Film 116 are very good, but unfortunately, you can't just plug them into any sound recorder with an 1/8" stereo jack and expect them to work. They require something called plug-in power, which is basically just a 5-volt current supplied by the audio recorder in order to produce a signal from the mics. The Sony PCM recorders in the UWM equipment room have this feature, but most phones, DSLRs, and computers do not. You can't plug these into Canon DSLRs, and you can't plug them into phones. They just won't produce any signal, or they'll produce a very, very weak signal. So if you want to use your 116 mics, then you'll need to plug them into something that offers plug-in power, which most likely means a purpose-built audio recorder. If you plan on making films into the foreseeable future, investing in an inexpensive audio recorder right now might not be a bad idea. I'm going to include a link to the Zoom H1N and the Tascam DR05X, both of which are pretty cheap, record pretty good sound, and do supply that plug-in power, so you can use them with these mics. I have an older version of the H1N called the H1 that I've used for years and years. I've probably abused it more than I should have, and it still keeps on going. Remember that if you do go this route with the Zoom H1N or the Tascam DR05X, you will need a micro SD card to record audio to. You can get a really cheap one. Just a 4 or 8 gigabyte card will be enough for our purposes. Phones have pretty okay mics in them, and because of their form factor, they can be very flexible recording devices. You can use your phone's built-in voice memos app, or you can use a third-party app to get a few more recording features, although I've still yet to find any app for iPhone or Android that allows you to take manual control over the gain levels of your microphone. So it looks like you're probably stuck with automatic gain control no matter what app or type of phone you use. If you're on an iPhone, there's a whole bunch of free and cheap voice recorder apps on the iOS App Store, and most of them are virtually indistinguishable from one another. AVR-X, or Awesome Voice Recorder X, has a free version with some fairly non-intrusive ads, and it allows you to record high bitrate 48 kilohertz wave files, which is what we would want to do. Whether you record to the stock app or something like AVR, you can transfer the recordings to your computer via AirDrop or USB. If you're on Android, Auphonic Edit is a delightful and delightfully free app that gives you a significant level of control over your recordings. You can even choose whether you want to use the front-facing camera mic or the handset mic. You can transfer files to your computer by uploading them to a service like Google Drive or Dropbox, or you can use the free Android file transfer utility to transfer them over a USB connection. The built-in mic on your laptop is probably the worst microphone that you have access to, and because it's built into a computer, it's very cumbersome to record with. But if you have no other options, it can be a really convenient way to record voiceover. You can record VO from your built-in mic directly into your Premiere or DaVinci Resolve timeline really easily. And last we have the built-in onboard mic on your camera, be it a DSLR or something else. Now, under normal circumstances, we would say that recording audio with your built-in mic would be like the worst case scenario, but these aren't normal circumstances, and it might be necessary to use this. So let's talk a little bit about how to get better quality sound out of this little teeny tiny microphone. So As with any microphone, when you're using your camera's built-in mic, one of the most important things you can do to improve sound quality is get it close to the speaker. That means if you're shooting a dialogue scene, probably shooting a lot of close-ups. This doesn't mean that you can only do close-ups in dialogue scenes, but if there are particular lines that you really want to make sure the audience can understand well, probably shoot those in a close-up with the camera very, very close to the actor. You can also remember you can take the audio from a close-up shot and layer it over a medium or a wide shot to have that high-quality audio with different kinds of framings. Another thing to pay attention to is that some cameras, including most Canon DSLRs, do allow you to manually control the built-in mic's record levels as opposed to just relying on automatic gain control. If you can do this, you absolutely should. I know it's an extra step, but by using manual record levels, you're going to get a much more consistent and high-quality result. So if you need to find out how to do this, or if it's possible with your camera, refer to your camera's user manual. That'll have all the information you need to know. If you're using a lav or your 1/16 mics with a mini recorder, you have the opportunity to use the recorder as a body pack, which is one of my favorite ways to get good quality sound without a lot of work. Attach the mic or mics to your actors around chest level, concealing it under clothing if desired. If you do conceal the mics under clothing, make sure to take special care that nothing is rubbing up against them, as that can cause some serious problems. Then have the actor run the mic cable out the bottom of their shirt and plug it into your recorder. Do a quick levels check and then start recording. Once the recorder is rolling, turn on the hold or lock switch to prevent button presses from having any effect. And then you can have your actor conceal the recorder in their pocket. And if you have any extra leftover cable, you can have them just kind of wad it up and shove it in their other pocket. Once that's all done, you have a relatively invisible body mic on your actor, and you can just let that run for your entire shoot, making sure to clap at the beginning of every camera take so that you have a sync point. At the end of the day, you have the actor remove the recorder from their pocket so that you can turn off the hold switch and stop the recording. With suboptimal microphones, it becomes even more important to limit background noise. Close your windows, turn off your fridge, put down blankets on any hard surfaces that aren't visible in shot. Anything you can do to make your environment less noisy and reverberant will help you improve the quality of your sound. When you're recording sound separate from video, you can get the microphone very, very close to your mouth. This is a good idea no matter what you're recording with. The real challenge with recording voiceover on your phone or similar device is that you can't monitor yourself in headphones while you're recording, so you kind of have to do it blind. It makes it really hard to detect any problems you might have. So because of this, I recommend doing a few takes of any recording that you need to do, just to increase the chances that you'll have a good usable take one of the times that you do it. One of the biggest problems with the type of mics we're working with is that it's very easy to cause plosives. Those are the popping sounds that can happen when you breathe into the mic or pronounce hard P's. One thing you can do to avoid this problem is to position the mic a little bit off to one side of your mouth rather than directly in front of you. That way you're not breathing into it. I'm recording myself on my phone, but it's all the way across the room. So in order to get good sound, I'm recording audio to a second device. Now, I don't have two phones, but I do have this iPod Touch that I got about 10 years ago, and the battery still holds a charge for a couple of hours, which is good enough for me. So I've started recording in my voice recorder app, and I'm just putting it in my shirt pocket right there. Now this isn't a perfect solution, but I think if we compare it to the sound you'd be hearing from my phone on the other side of the room, the difference is pretty substantial. So in order to match this audio to that picture, I'm just going to clap my hands, and then I can use that as a sync point to match up the sound in that picture. If all else fails, ADR is always an option. That stands for Additional Dialogue Recording, or Automated Dialogue Replacement, depending on who you ask. It's the painstaking but technically pretty simple process of re-recording unusable dialogue under better conditions. So this would usually be used on film sets. If you're recording somewhere really noisy where you just can't get clean sound, the process of doing it is pretty simple. You just want to set up as if you were recording voiceover, but instead re-perform those same lines again. You have to be very careful that you try and have the same timing as you did in your initial performance. And you want to make sure that your performance doesn't feel flat or lifeless. That's often a problem with ADR. Once you have your sound recorded, you can bring it into your editing system and try to synchronize it with your picture. Now, this is where the hard work usually comes in. This usually involves cutting apart that sound either word by word or even syllable by syllable to get it to line up with your original footage. It's a lot of work, but the results can sound pretty good.